This episode is brought to you by Rick's Eyewear. Eyewear that inspires confidence. If you would like to buy some premium eyewear, sunglasses, blue light frames, prescription, head online now, rickseyewear.com.au and check it out. Caps has been Australia's home of headwear since 2012. From snapback to fitted, curve peak to flat peak, our hats will fit anyone and everyone. Since then, we've grown and evolved into the leaders of US sports apparel in Australia. Head online at caps.com.au and check it out. Righto, let's get into the show. Hey guys, welcome back to Tommy Talks, brought to you by Ausmerican Aces. Today we've got another massive guest, Daniel Patrick, the man, the brand, is in town. We're very lucky. He's here for a 2-day trip, a work trip, and we've been able to snag him in the van. So yeah, really excited. You're going to learn a lot. If you're into your fashion, you want to start a brand, or you just love American sport, this guy has his brand on all the superstars. He has some incredible stories, and I can't wait for you to hear them all. So yeah, really excited for you to check this one out. While I've got you, I just want to make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Like, you know, it makes a massive difference for us. So like, subscribe, keep spreading the word, keep sending in your feedback. I got a lot last week for Jeremy Cameron, and I'm passing them on to him, and he's loving them. Let's keep building the community, and yeah, that's all from me. So make sure you sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for your time. It's great to have you on the podcast. Welcome back to Melbourne.
Yeah, thanks, man. I haven't been here since I was 5, so it's good to...
Really?
Yeah, so I kind of feel like I haven't really been here, but, you know, yeah, definitely good to be back.
You literally arrived this morning, didn't you?
Yeah, got off the plane this morning. I was up at 4:30 this morning in Sydney, getting ready, and, you know, kind of flew in. It was a quick trip, so yeah.
Just business?
Business and pleasure.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And Toddy's last night, great feed, few
Amazing.
beers.
I don't drink.
Don't drink?
Nah,
that's cool.
just water.
That's why you're so good at what you do. You're efficient.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I haven't, I've never really been a drinker. So even when I was playing sport, you know, obviously that kind of makes a big difference for me. So, and then just in life, I'm like, I enjoy life. I don't really need that. So, it's just always how I've been, you know.
I like it.
People think it's strange, you know, an Australian that doesn't drink beer, you know, so, but that's all good.
Well, it's actually changing. You're seeing a lot of non-alcoholic beers these days, and they're really going off, and it just says there's a lot of people that want it.
Yeah.
So you're not alone, mate. It's just I think a lot of people just, you know, there's a stigma there that they don't feel comfortable saying they don't drink, but
yeah.
I don't think anyone cares anymore. You do what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I was having a chat with some guys yesterday they used to play footy with, and you know, they were all like, you know, that was how I was, and, you know, they deep down, they kind of respect you for it, and, you know, that's pretty cool, because you know, it isn't something easy to do, especially in that culture, in the Australian culture, sports culture. It's kind of big, but yeah, you know, that's just how I've been, and that's how it is. So.
It's great. Now, mate, there's a lot to get through. There's obviously you as the person, and then you as the brand. You've done such an amazing job. Congratulations.
Great,
you know, everyone follows you, and being an Aussie as well, it's pretty cool to see what you're doing based on Melrose Avenue in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Let's just start with you growing up. Where did you grow up? And yeah, talk to me about your upbringing.
So I grew up in Sydney, Marrickville, and then we moved down to the Sutherland Shire. So we basically lived there until, you know, basically until I moved to America. So that was at a young age. And then I was just brought up on sport, really. So I did anything, swimming, athletics. I did a little bit of AFL, cricket. Rugby league was my main sport. Bodyboarding, skateboarding, you name it, we did it. And that's just what you grow up on in Australia, really. You know, it's like such a small country, and you see us in the Commonwealth Games right now, leading the medal tally. Olympics, we always do decent for the size of the nation that we are. Yeah, you know, that's just what we grew up on, and that was a good part of life. And you kind of see that coming into my clothing. It's kind of authentic with me. So it's, yeah.
It is. And speaking of sportsmen, you have some of the biggest names in the world that wear your stuff. That must be so rewarding day in, day out to see the names that rock Daniel Patrick.
Yeah, no, it's very cool, because I grew up, you know, obviously with one eye on America. And, you know, Michael Jordan was big when I was a kid, and I guess with every kid at that time, and you keep an eye on that. That was kind of where I first got interested in America, and then to go over there and to be working with NBA players and NFL players, and it's a really good experience and something that's rewarding, and it's kind of like it feels like you come full circle a little bit, because going into fashion, people think, oh, it's like kind of the opposite of being an athlete, but it didn't really have to be. That's kind of cool in a way.
Yeah, and I've seen you courtside at a few games. It must be really cool to mix that business with pleasure.
Yeah.
And see the boys rock up in Daniel Patrick pre-game, and they obviously take premium photos. They allow this is what I love about American sport, is they allow the athletes to wear what they want. They don't make them wear the club colours, and when they do wear the club colours, it's even cooler.
Yeah.
But they wear, brands, and then, brands like your own, they shine.
That's what I like about it, because in Australia, you're not really, you're kind of conforming to the group, and I get that in a way too. It's kind of like it's more, the club is bigger, and it should be that way. The club is bigger than the personality, but at the same time, these guys are allowed to shine and have their own personality and be their own brand. And I think I would like to see that happen more in Australia as well. And I think I'd like to help that happen as well.
Mate, I'm with you. With the sunglass brand, we get your clothing brand. It's exactly what players want as well. I think they're pushing for it, but with I guess the industry's not as big as the American ones, and the franchises, they just don't have the strings to pull. But when it happens, you'd see the Harry Himmelbergs and the Timmy Terranos of the world, mate. They'd be rocking it, no doubt.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think the tunnel walk would be to bring that into the AFL, the NRL, the rugby. I think would be a really good thing. And you see kind of you see it like in little ways that they're trying to make it happen, but. It'd be great to see it like a full blown thing, and But like I said, I get the club mentality, but also I like a mix of that where the guy can be his own brand, but that's just a bit of our cultural upbringing. Is always kind of, it's very humble, in Australia, and Americans have always been the confident and their own person really, and that's what I'd like to see.
Do they love hanging out, because you are, like you said, you're from Australia, you're different to how they've been brought up. Do they love the fact that you got this humble kind of Australian culture behind you? So when they come in the store, they get the accent, they get all that kind of culture when they walk in and see the brand?
Well, some of them don't know that I'm Australian, and then they hear the accent, they're like, oh, where's your accent from? And then that becomes part of the conversation. But I just always show an interest in the person that I'm dealing with, and we just have good conversations and about life and sport and all that. Like I didn't make it all the way, but I kind of went into the fashion area earlier than like I went into my career with footy. So but I do have an understanding of being an athlete, and because when you're coming up through lower grades, it is pretty intense, the training you do. So you do have some idea of what they go through, obviously on a smaller scale. But so I do have some understanding with them, so you can kind of connect with them on those things. But all the players that I've dealt with, all super nice, and I think that's something that you need to be successful, is being a good person, and especially when you're playing in a team environment, it always helps. So yeah, you're
right. If you're in a team, I haven't really met many bad blokes, and if they are, if they are an average person, they get told pretty quickly they need to change their ways, and they generally do. So you're spot on. Let's go back to you as a person, as a rugby star growing up. Talk to me a bit about your career, because I don't know much about this, and I'm really interested.
I don't know if I was a rugby star, but one of the things that in life, I always feel like that I can be the best at something, whether outside people think that or not. I just backed myself. So when I played league, I basically, I was aiming to be the best. And whether I reach that point, I'm obviously going to get further trying to be the best than just trying to be average, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, yeah, maybe I aim to be the best, but I end up being, decent, and that's, I'm not aiming to be decent, but like, you're obviously going to get further the higher you aim for. And if you aim for mediocrity, you're going to get mediocrity or less. So, so I just kind of trained with that mentality, and I knew I knew my limitations, and I just loved that you could work on something, especially in sport. It's like you can work on something and you can see it come to fruition in a game. And that's like, so I would work on like the minute details of everything. Like I went to a sports high school in Sydney, and I just lent into every opportunity that I had. I was with the Roosters, and at a young age, I would go after school. I'd do the weight training with them. I had a sprint coach at school. I'd go utilize him at lunchtime. I'd utilize him after school, and you would get a yard extra in pace, and that's a big deal, And so if I was getting these little 1%ers everywhere, from practicing the passing of the football, sprint coaching, weight training, you're going to get better. You're going to do better than what you have been doing. So when I went into fashion, you kind of come in from that background of working hard and knowing that you can improve, and you just apply that same philosophy and principle to fashion or anything you're doing, to get better. So, yeah.
I was just about to say, is there a correlation between all those incremental gains into your brand? And you've just touched on it, which is great. And when with your brand, when did you identify, well, more so with you, when did you identify that you are this super creative dude growing up? When did this spark hit you and go, you know what? I have a real eye for fashion and this luxury sportswear as a category?
I don't know, like same with sport. I don't know. I was never the most creative or whatnot, but I always dressed good. I could always put together an outfit, and I always kind of got the attention of the team that I would like, the players in the team, like whether they would make fun of you but it wasn't really that. It was just kind of like
different.
Yeah, it was just different. I think back then you probably took it the wrong way, but at the same time, there'll be some guys that would be like, oh, that's really cool. I couldn't wear that, but like, that's fucking cool that you can wear that. And I kind of enjoyed that, just like, creating that effect on people and setting an example and showing a way that, okay, you don't have to conform to what everyone else is doing. Like same with the drinking, I just kind of marched to the beat of my own drum in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And express yourself differently.
Yeah.
People get a bit, especially in Australia, like you said, America, I feel like you can be as flamboyant as, you can wear anything in America. I feel like Australia, as soon as you wear something a bit out there, they're like, have a look at this bloke, you know?
Yeah, and that's the thing. You go to America and it's just, you're normal, it's just like, no one really notices anything different. It's just, but that's what's really cool about America for me. And it was just kind of, I thought the best place for me to go and do my brand and launch and like I said, I always had an interest in going there. When you play rugby league or even AFL or something like that, it's not really a place that you can go and play your sport professionally. So when I kind of decided to do fashion, that was one of the things I was really excited about, because I'm like, now I can go and do it in America, because that was always a place where I wanted to be, and now I have that opportunity.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the brand, because I'm really interested to see how you started it. It's one thing to have the vision and then to get it off the ground, but to be on Melrose Avenue and your website says you're in 50 boutique stores around the world. There's probably more. To have all the athletes that wear your stuff consistently. This has all started back in 2011, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. There's a lot of water that goes under the bridge. So I'd love you to because there's a lot of people that look up to you because you've done such a fantastic job. We all want to know, how did you start it? How did you just go, you've obviously, I think you started by visiting and getting some inspiration back in 2009.
Yeah, so I took a few trips back and forth and kind of got inspired. And at first I was like, should I work for somebody first? And then I kind of just liked the idea of doing my own thing, because I could just comfortably do what I wanted to do, whether good or bad, or I could just do it how I wanted to do it, and fail, get up again, and kind of go at it again and keep going. And that's just how I felt. Like, I don't know if I felt like I needed to work for somebody else. I just wanted to do my own thing. And I went to school for a year in Sydney in fashion, kind of just getting basics, because I had coming from footy, just knew I wanted to do it. And basically wanted to get into fashion. So how do I do it? Okay, take a class. Okay, work some jobs, retail, all these different things. And eventually they all meet at some point where it's like, okay, opening your own store, you know how to run a store, you know how to sell, you know how to do logistics, because I ran logistics for a denim company in Sydney. So it all goes together. But yeah, just basically I went over 2011. I was working construction for my uncle's company and I was just a bit over it, and just booked a flight. She wasn't my wife at the time, but I had been talking to her. We were kind of on a long distance relationship, and I said, I just gotta go for this. So I had a plan just to go over there, and you get a 90-day visa and just work it out. I was like, in that 3 months, I'm gonna work out how I can stay there and be there, and kind of do my brand and go. Just went all in and just had to make it happen, and it wasn't easy, because I went over there with no money, 2 suitcases, and just the dream, really. And yeah.
That's how it always starts, and that's why it's so impressive.
Yeah.
When did you meet your beautiful partner, Jenny?
We met early in 2011. Yeah. So, yeah, we basically, when I moved over there, it's kind of a crazy story. We got off the plane, moved in together, got an apartment. She had got the apartment sorted before we went. And then so we moved into this new apartment together, and then
whereabouts was it?
It was in Silver Lake, yeah, but not like a really cool part of Silver Lake, but yeah, it was close to. It was in LA for me. That was all I needed. And it was decent. So we moved in, and then within 3 months we got married, and got my green card, and we've been married for over 10 years now, and we got 2 kids, and she's a big part of the success of the business. She's a CEO, and she's a really good foil for me, because she basically keeps me accountable and basically gets me to do things that I wouldn't particularly do, like different events and all that stuff, because I'm not into that. And then when I go to those things, and then I'm like, oh man, I'm glad I did that, and probably wouldn't have done those things without her, kind of pushing me towards them. So it's been great, in that sense. So yeah. Yeah,
that's awesome. So you were naturally a shy, introvert kind of guy?
I just not really into all that stuff. I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty I'd rather just keep my head down and do work, but it's a bit hard in this business because you need to be out there.
Hype it up a bit and
and it's not really kind of natural to me. But I'm confident more now about it and doing that, and I see the value of it to get where I want to go, business wise. And you look at Ralph Lauren and stuff like that, they're the face of their brands. Tom Ford, they're the face of the brand, and people buy into the face of the brand, and that's something that I kind of want to lean into, and that's just it's been successful doing that, and
yeah, it's great. Well, it is your name and it is your face, so you kind of have to, and it's good that you got that, that team. It does help being held accountable, but also to get pushed into things and then see the results. It's a great it's a great little team and family, obviously, as well. Back to when you started, you said you went there with no money. Now, this is the thing that everyone always wants with business and all that. Did you start real lean? Or did you get investment? How did you get this thing off the ground? Because it does take a little bit of
it does take capital.
Cash.
So when I went over there, I basically I borrowed some money from a friend in 2011, and it was my wife's friend actually, and that got us samples done and whatnot, and then we basically, I don't know how we did it in the end, but I just had to get the first production over the line. Once we got that done, I basically put it in stores, and then it sold. Took that money, put into more stock, and started going like that. So, but I just remember I'd meet with people and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And then I went around and I sold to friends too. I was like, look, I'm trying to get the first production off the line here. Want to order some stuff. And so I took money from that in that way, delivered it really late in some senses, but I got it done and made it happen. It's literally like, you don't know how you made that happen because, but I think with enough intention, you can make anything happen and you just keep going. And every time you beat an obstacle, you kind of steel yourself for the next one and you just have that experience and you just kind of start to gather confidence like, well, nothing can really beat us but yourself, like that's how it is. So
action built confidence as well. And when you did that first collection, was it a collection?
Like I had done some leather stuff prior to this and I went over there and I sold that stuff and but that was kind of, I didn't feel like that stuff was something that could sustain a business for me because making a leather jacket was quite expensive because the leather, you're talking a few $100s for leather and then making it like another $600 or something. So you're already like...
Yeah, your margins are on the floor.
Yeah, and then you got to sell it for a couple grand to make money and then there's a client for it, but there's not a large amount of people that are buying that. So for me, I created like a line that was like t-shirts and sweats and stuff like that. Something that was more attainable and more everyday wear. And that was a successful thing that we did. And that was when I called it Nomadic back in the day by Daniel Patrick. And then eventually kind of blurred the lines and then it became Daniel Patrick and as a whole thing. And so then, that was like, people still ask for Nomadic. They're like, bring back Nomadic. And I'm always like, well, there's the DNA of Nomadic is in the stuff that we're doing. And that's, the idea of like the basics and stuff we do now. It is based on that. It is a different aesthetic to where we started. But I think the evolution has been organic and I like where we're going with things too. So yeah.
Were you heavy retail focus early days? Because it wouldn't have been much online, or it would have just been starting around that period, wouldn't it?
Instagram kind of started around then. So that was a big thing to be able to reach customers and sell to them and all that. But I remember I did consignment in a few stores in LA. It isn't great, but at that time, it was a regular check coming in, and then the stylists were shopping at those stores, so basically got your clothes on. Stylists and celebrities would shop at those stores, and that would be how you get clothes on people. And so a lot of the time, people probably think that we pay people to wear the clothes, but a lot of people are buying it. These athletes and whatnot, and they have their own stylists, and whether it's for the stylist or them personally. They're buying it, and I think that's good because it shows they really like the brand. Because if you're going to buy something, you appreciate it more, and you obviously like it.
And you can build that relationship, and that's something that I've only noticed, the last couple of years. But the bigger the athlete, obviously the more money they've got, but they do invest a lot of money into their appearance and their attire and what they wear, and they actually then instead of going out and buying it, they just go get a personal stylist, don't they? So how important is that relationship, not only with the athletes, but with those stylists for you?
Yeah, it's pretty important. So you kind of build that over time because they're the ones that are putting the stuff on the athlete, So if you have a good relationship with them, they're going to come back to you and they're going to put you on basically, So it is good to have a good relationship with the stylist and try to do your best for them. And
Now back to when you've done your first, collection. When you did your first collection, you doing this out of the house? Like you wouldn't have had a store by then, or did you have the store? What did the business look like?
We were in an apartment in West Hollywood, and I just remember, we just run everything out of there at the time. I managed the building, so we had cheaper rent.
That's great.
So I managed the building, and then my wife was in casting at the time, and then she started helping me, around that time as well. And then she got out of casting, so she would cast like movies and stuff for Tyler Perry.
Yeah, right.
So she came out of that and started doing the fashion thing with me, and kind of never looked back. So yeah, I would have to kind of shift the clothes off like on the couch. They were folded, and that was where the stock was. To kind of at nighttime to get a spot to watch TV.
To just clothes everywhere.
Yeah, it was neat, but it was just a lot, and
It's like your pick and pack center.
Yeah. So I remember that they had so we would kind of wash the garments to kind of pre-shrink them and whatnot, and there was a laundry room in the building, and so I would have coins, and I'd be down in the laundry room changing them out, putting them in the laundry, and then putting them in the dry, like from like washer to the dryer. And yeah, I would always just have a stack of coins with me, and then you weren't supposed to run the the machines to a certain hour, but I would run them all night long. And I was like, no one said anything, but I was like, I'm the manager. So
Yeah. Incremental gains, mate. It's the athlete coming out of you. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
It's impressive. And everyone starts, whether it's out of your car, out of your, out of your garage, out of your apartment, everyone does it. And that's why it's good to hear, everyone knows where you are now, but it's good to hear the story. When did you get the store? How old was the business, and what year was it when you moved into the Melrose Avenue?
Melrose was a few years down the line, because we first opened in downtown LA, and so we opened there, and we needed an office, I felt, and then I was like, well, we may as well open a store with an office, so we just killed two birds with one stone. But that must have been like 2012, that must have been 2013 that we opened that. So opened a store, and, did pretty well out of there, because stylists and stuff and like customers were coming to my apartment in West Hollywood to buy stuff, pick stuff up and whatnot.
A little showroom type setup.
Yeah. So I was like, and everything was produced downtown. So I was like, let's open it. And downtown at that time was gentrifying. So, we were there early days. So we opened up a store there and had the office. There was a little loft that had the office, and the downstairs was a store. Then we took more space in the building above it for like stock room. And then, then eventually I think we opened a store in New York, and then we opened another store. We opened a store in Melrose. That was a small store, because we got wind that the building was going to like close down and, be like renovated.
Oh.
So I was like, well, I'm not going to wait around for that to happen, because I know that's coming. So I opened the store in Melrose at that time. So then we had Melrose, and we had the Soho store in New York. And then eventually closed the Soho store. It was just kind of hard to manage, it was more like a staffing issue, because it's hard to manage people across country. We found at the time, when we were being like a small business, it was probably in over our heads at that time, because the rent was $25,000 a month.
Jesus.
And then you got to pay staff wages. Before you make any money, you're paying $25,000 plus wages, and more on top of that, other little fees here and there. And it probably costs us $100,000 to deck out the space too. So you're kind of in it for a lot before you start making anything on that one. But that store was good, and it was great, and it was kind of a dream to be in New York. So I definitely want to do that again at some point at the right time. But yeah, we just kind of focused on having a flagship in LA. It was just kind of the easier thing for us to manage, and so we got a bigger store in LA now on Melrose. That was 2 doors down from our smaller store, and then so that's a cool spot.
It's a very cool spot.
Yeah, you been there?
Yeah, I've walked past there before and been in there. I've been to LA 4 or 5 times.
Yeah,
we always go down Melrose and pop into that store and all the vintage stores, and that strip's just. I named a pair of sunglasses after Melrose.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
yeah. Literally, that's why they're called Melrose. It's just it's a beautiful street.
Yeah.
And there's obviously Rodeo. That's very like luxury, but I like Melrose personally better.
I like Melrose because it kind of when I first started. Like when I first went to LA, that was the first kind of place that I shopped was on Melrose, and then Kind of reminds me of the Entourage days, you know,
Yep.
with the Fred Siegel right by our store with the, you know, how it's kind of covered in all the green, I guess, bushes on the outside. And
Is that Earth Cafe? They used to go there all the time.
they used to go there.
Is that near Melrose?
That's on Melrose.
Yeah, because I used to walk there.
But much further down than where we are.
We stayed at the SLS, and we had when I was with Harry and Tim recently. When I say recently, it was before COVID.
Yeah.
We stayed in West Hollywood, but.
At the SLS?
Not at the SLS. We had an Airbnb that time,
Okay.
just around the corner. But I remember Earth Cafe. We just when I first went to LA, we're like, we got to go there. Like this is the Entourage spot. This is where it's all happening.
Yeah.
Just tick it off the bucket list.
Yeah.
It's such a cool little strip.
Yeah, I mean that was a great show too.
Yeah, it's the best. They might be bringing something back as well. I saw, but
Yeah.
well, they're doing something. But the Melrose Avenue is a very attractive, spot. You would have
iconic. Yeah.
It's iconic. So when you've moved, I want to speak about more early days before we get to now. But what was that moment where you saw, you're still new, you're an Aussie, your dreams of the American kind of athletes and celebrities? Like, was there a moment where someone walked in and you still remember it and go, wow? Was there like a person that just really got you a bit starstruck?
I remember. Well, I've met a few people, obviously, but. I don't know, I like meeting all those guys, because they're all big names to me and, kind of global names too,
Big names.
So like we met with James Harden. We worked together with on an Adidas collection. And I remember the meeting that we had with that was in Salt Lake City because they were there playing the Jazz when he was with the Rockets, and we flew in for the day just to have this meeting. And, Salt Lake City is only an hour from LA, which is really cool. So that was a good meeting. And, he kind of, the people at Adidas were saying that he's never been so engaged and so enthused with the meetings, and I was like, that's pretty cool, So I guess he's into what we're doing. And he was getting ready for a game too, so he was on the massage table, kind of limbering up for he had his masseuse stretching him and all this stuff while we are having this meeting. And but it was really cool, flying into Salt Lake City. It's kind of like you see the Bulls playing the Jazz back in the '90s, and that's and here we are in that same city just for a meeting and kind of planning a collection with Adidas and James Harden. That was kind of a big moment for me. And then we launched it at the All-Star weekend in Chicago, another place where I was as a kid, I'm like, man, I'd love to go to Chicago. And then that was kind of the first time I got to, well, actually that was the second time I went to Chicago. I went another time, but when it was the NFL draft. But yeah, that for me, it was well, this is just bucket list, like you say, bucket list items, being ticked off, going to the United Center. Yeah. So
it's crazy. I mean, that was another one I was going to ask down the track, but we might as well talk about it now. That collection with Adidas and James Harden, it looks so good. Well done, mate. It must have been a cool experience. You just touched on that. So James, the first meeting, because it would have been more than one, I would have thought, James Harden's on the massage table for an NBA game and you rolled in with Adidas and your team, and he's obviously in there because he's the poster boy.
Yeah.
And you're all discussing the plans for the collaboration. Is that what happened?
Yeah. We sat around, basically, I was wearing some acid wash pants and a bomber jacket and all that stuff, and he'd be like, oh, I love those pants, I like a jacket, like all the stuff that I was wearing. So then we kind of well, let's make let's start with that, so we went into that. So he just was really excited about working with me, and it's kind of humbling to have someone like him excited to work with me, because he's a bit of a fashion icon, and a great one of the best scorers in the NBA history, So it's kind of to work with him was dream come true. Work with Adidas, another dream come true, because I grew up kind of idolizing, a lot of my favorite athletes were Adidas athletes like David Beckham, Brad Fittler, in the rugby league sense, Zidane, mostly in the football sense, because I was big on the soccer boots and that. But yeah, to work, and obviously in the NBA, to work with that was cool.
That's so cool, man. And in that meeting, without giving away stuff that you can't, but what was something that popped up?
So that stuff's all been released.
Yeah, no, it's been released, but was there anything there where you just remember that was really cool, where the whole collaboration pivoted because of maybe something James said or you said?
Well, we didn't really have a direction for the collaboration, but, from the pants that I was wearing in the meeting, they became a pant in the collection, and it became a focal point for the shoe too. Like, I remember the sole of the shoe, that same acid wash was underneath the sole, and it was the lining of the shoe, so like we just took a lot of things that he liked about what I was doing, and we kind of, brought that we did that in a new way, for the collaboration. So
that's so cool. Hey, it must be so rewarding having someone like him join into the collaboration like that. Are you and James really good friends now? You catch up a fair bit, or is it kind of business, that kind of stuff?
I don't know if we're super tight friends where we hang out with each other all the time, but we're definitely friends, and we haven't caught up for a while. Obviously, there's been COVID and whatnot, and but we stay in touch from time. Like, I've texted him from time to time, and I stay in touch with his manager, who's one of the guys he grew up with. So he's now his manager, and we send him stuff from time to time just because we're work together. So it's kind of so we have a good history together, and I liked working with him, and I like his style. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. That collaboration together, was that one of the most successful campaigns you've done so far?
Oh, for sure. Because we did, we launched that at the All-Star weekend, and we sold a lot of shoes.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Sold a lot of clothes, and it did really well. And then we also had a video play in the Staples Center during the Rockets, when he was playing with the Rockets, and the Rockets and the Lakers. So we played this. We had on the big screen in the an Adidas Daniel Patrick ad play in the Staples Center. That was literally the last thing we did before COVID, was that game at the Staples Center. But that was cool. We got, after the game, got to catch up with James, got to meet Lakers players and whatnot. And
so cool, man.
Just chatting to them, and it was cool.
It was big. I got a mate, Jakey McBean, big shout out, but Beano works at Adidas and he's a good mate of ours. And I remember I said to him, "How's your day been, mate?" And he goes, "It's going well, mate. We've got this huge collaboration coming. I can't tell you about it." And then eventually it come out, and I remember messaging him saying, "Mate, this is fucking sick."
Is he Adidas in America?
No, he's in Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, so he works down here.
Yeah.
But he showed me all the stuff when it come out, and it was, mate, he's nailed it. So well done.
Oh, awesome, thanks.
Now, with the sport, are you do you go for any of the NFL teams or the NBA teams, or you just kind of support all of the players that you know?
So that's the thing. I try to find a team for myself, and obviously I live in LA, and I've been living there for 11 years, and I just found that I just like following players, and I've always kind of been that way. When I follow, I supported Man United because of David Beckham. When he went to Real Madrid, I go for David Beckham. So, go for Real Madrid, goes to LA Galaxy, So I kind of been that way, that I follow the players that I like, like a James Harden or something like that. It's kind of, you kind of remain impartial to a degree then, because you're working with all these guys. So it's not like you're like, yeah, let's go. And then they see you, and then the next day, yeah, let's go Miami. But I want all their teams to win, all the guys that I work with, because you have an affinity for the guy and you want him to do well. But I guess it's hard because not everyone can win. There's only one team at the end of the day that can win. But like I said, I have an affinity for the players, and then I gain an affinity for their team, and But you know how it is in American sport. They may not be at that team the next year. So
there is a lot of movement, and that's where it's
a business.
It is a business. Yeah. And as an NFL fan, I'm wearing the Jets right now. Eric Decker, shout out, mates of his. He got me this jacket, but I tend to like the Baltimore Ravens. But geez, I do support a lot. Of players. I love watching. I like watching. I'm a bit like you. I don't really have the softest spot for one team. I love watching them all, and you wish them. You just want quality football and NBA. Really, by the end of the year, you always pick one. I reckon the top four for me, but I'm the same as you. I don't have a team.
I think I wanted Miami to win last year for the NBA, and then obviously being in LA, you're happy to see the Rams do well. So,
Yeah.
so
You're good, mate. I've seen a few photos. Jimmy Butler, Buckets, you guys get along well.
yeah.
Must be pretty cool being, mates with someone like him. And geez, isn't he just dominating at the moment?
Yeah, he's doing great. I wish he could have gone to the finals. So close. But there's always next year. And he's a passionate guy, very friendly. Like, just really took the care to show my family like a good time. And the thing about him is like he's like he thanked me for giving him the opportunity to spend that time with my family, and that was kind of like. He's Jimmy Butler is like this big NBA star, and he's thanking me for meeting my family. He's just such a nice guy, So yeah, he really showed us some nice hospitality when we went to Miami, because we went to we didn't even have tickets. We planned to go to the game, and I said, I texted him. I was like, yeah, I'm going to the game. See like we can catch up after, and then he called me up. Like on the spot, was like, you got tickets? And I was like, well, not yet, but we're going to get them. And then he's like, I got you 4 tickets. They're courtside, but it's behind the scorer's bench, so you have a table in front of you. And I was like, well, that's fine with me. And he's like, yeah, let me know after the game, and my people will bring you back. And he did, and he got my son signed jersey, gave my daughter a signed pair of shoes. This was in COVID, so we couldn't really be too much
too close
at that time, but definitely it was such a great experience.
That's so cool, man.
My son, probably thinks that's normal now.
Yeah, he's gonna go west. Yeah, I know.
Because we did the same thing in Brooklyn with Kevin Durant. Because one of the coaches from the Brooklyn Nets is a friend of mine, and we kind of organized that because my son's a huge Kevin Durant fan, so we basically made that happen for him too, and that was like a big thing for him, and it's fun for me too, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, mate, father of the year, right here.
Exactly.
He has Jimmy Bucket signed jerseys and shoes, and then you got KD. It doesn't really get any better than that. Maybe LeBron James, and you've done you've got the trio.
Yeah,
that is so cool.
Yeah.
Back to when you were launching the brand. It's obviously when you launch a brand, you do need to disrupt the market. You need to make a bit of noise. You need to get your name out there. Who was the first kind of celebrity that wore your like a Daniel Patrick collection and was spotted and a bit of press about it? Was there anyone that kind of helped you get off the ground quicker?
Justin Bieber was one.
Wow.
He was big, so he was wearing our stuff from an early time in the brand. will.i.am. We've had a lot of
you've had heaps
great moments where it's kind of like, oh wow, that's cool. Like Beyonce wearing our pants, or Cher even, or Usher, or Lenny Kravitz, or all these people wearing your stuff. Even Steven Tyler. There's a lot of just a lot of people that you forget about, and then, you think about it over time. But Bieber was really big for us, and drove a lot of sales for us too, and around the world. He's big in China, and we blew up in China as a result of that. And so grateful for him rocking the brand,
mate, that's
grateful for anyone rocking it too, to be honest with you.
100%.
Even not celebrities, because the celebrities are great, but the people, everyday people are your customers and run, determine your business. So
exactly right. Every customer and anyone that supports you, it means the world.
Yeah.
Having the store must be quite rewarding to be able to see face to face. I definitely think that I've got the sunglass brand, like I said to you earlier, and it's online mainly, but the dream for me is to plonk up in a store that's maybe got a cafe next to it. But the face to face, you must love when people come in so you can have these conversations and tell them thank you and build relationships. Is that really important to you and Daniel Patrick, the brand?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in the store a lot, but when I do go there, I like to chat to customers, and I don't know if they always know that I'm the guy,
should, surely.
Sometimes maybe not, But I like chatting to customers, and it kind of reminds me of when I used to work retail, and it's cool. I just like talking to people, to be honest with you. So when we have different athletes come by the warehouse, it's very cool we just chat, and sometimes 2 hours goes by, and you're like, man, we just chatted for 2 hours. I got to go pick up my kids now because and otherwise we would probably chat for another hour or so. So yeah, those chats are really rewarding, I guess. And yeah, I just like going for a coffee, chatting with people. So that's why I was even like, oh, we should make a show out of this. With guys coming, kind of like comedians in cars getting coffee, but just chatting with these guys about fashion and sports and, what they're into off the court or off the field, and, kind of creating something for them. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I think you'd have a strong appetite from a lot of people to watch that stuff, especially even behind the scenes of a brand like yours. Just on your brand now, how many people are working for Daniel Patrick?
We don't have a large team, but I feel like it's 7 or 8 people. And I think that kind of surprises a lot of people because they think, we're a lot bigger in terms of how many staff we have. But I feel like the staff we do have, they wear a lot of hats and have to have to do a lot of things. So there's definitely never a dull moment for them.
And you've got in downtown LA is where the factory is with all the stock.
So we have our HQ downtown, and then a couple floors down we have like a manufacturing facility. It's connected with us, but I basically got the guy who was making our stuff to expand into that space and be right there. He's making all our stuff, making all our samples and whatnot. So it's just, you have a new idea, you kind of just go downstairs and lay it down, or you can go down and, okay, there's this problem, let's check this out. What are we going to do about this? Just right downstairs. And that's always handy to have that. And I think a lot of people wish they could have that because makes us nimble in the sense that we can turn stuff around really fast and we can make a small run or a large run, whichever kind of run we want to make, and do a test run. And
that is such a strength for the brand. I must say, you do release stuff quick. That's kind of a strength of yours, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's how I like to do it, because I think the faster you are, it just determines how well you're going to do. And otherwise you get left in the dust with anything, Yeah.
Well, you'd hate the sunglass industry, mate. You had 3.5 months just to get them here.
Oh, really? Yeah.
That's without design and samples, and probably 5 months. So it's a nightmare. Yeah. I'd love to walk downstairs and go, do this, print it now.
Yeah. Some things are fast, some things take longer. But yeah, definitely we do have a good amount of product that we can push out like straight away, and that's kind of handy.
Speaking of wearing a lot of hats, how many hats are you wearing?
I do design, like creative direction, production. That's kind of my forte.
So the product is really your responsibility. You've got a team that can push it, sell it, send it, pack it, whatever. But you're like, I'm designing my own name, my own brand. This is what I'm accountable for. And it's what I'm good at.
Yeah. So I wear that. I wear those hats, and then obviously the founder hat, kind of face of the brand, doing stuff like this, being out there. So that's another hat that, that is a hat, obviously. So you need to wear that hat. But yeah, those are my hats, and, that's what I like to do. I like to mostly just like to design and produce. Yeah. Yeah. And that's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, it's great. And in terms of like business stuff for people out there that want to start brands, are you quite balanced in like retail, wholesale and online? Or do you say that one's takes the load?
So we were wholesale heavy before COVID, and then we kind of pulled back our wholesale for the last couple of years, and we're kind of just starting to put that in again. But that's been good because we built just our e-commerce business and direct-to-consumer business. And I think, kind of having direct access to the customer is a good thing. So we were probably like 80% wholesale, 20% DTC. Now we're probably like majority DTC now. And then we're going to pick back up with wholesale, like next year. So, we're starting to reach back out to retailers and whatnot. And like COVID was a bit of a precarious situation in the world. You didn't know what store was going to go out of business, and the stores aren't going to be open. So I want to produce all this stuff, and then they can't pay it and they don't take it. So it was a bit of a rough time in that sense. But we still had a decent year in 2020. So basically, my thing is like we want to balance it better and have a more of a majority on DTC with select retail partners. I think that's probably the way to go for us.
Yeah.
But I think it's always changing, and you just always have to just observe what's working and what's not working, and just be willing to, your plan's one thing, but you gotta kind of move with how it's working. So it's like we might have one design that's doing well, but you kind of thought the other design was going to do well. Well, you kind of have to go with, got to go with what's working.
At least
too.
you can just, print a few more.
Exactly.
Bloke next to you, which is so handy.
Yeah.
Just on the SKUs, how many SKUs have you got in your business now? I was on the website last night. I went, how do you keep up?
That's what I do. I mean, I just work on one thing at a time, and
the team look after the rest.
Before you know it, you have like a lot of different, like you just have a lot of SKUs, and I think as an artist, it's hard to edit. You want to make everything, and we got like a lot of things that are sampled that we haven't even released yet and are coming down the pipeline. Like we got denim, we got knitwear, and all these things. And I was like, I want to do performance sportswear now, and I definitely have a lot of ideas, which is like it's good. You don't want to stop that, but it can, it's definitely overwhelming for my wife and my team. And, sometimes myself too, I'm just like, I got so many ideas that, just like,
I'm like you, mate. Sometimes they pop on the pillow and you're like, write that down.
Exactly.
That's the thing. You can only do so much with your team and your power. You know, you got 8 working for you. They can't keep up with your ideas sometimes.
Yeah, and then also, new product lines require capital, because for fabric production, marketing, all that kind of stuff. So, it's definitely it's not easy,
Nah, it's not easy.
But, I wouldn't complain.
As one of the, the leaders in the industry, what is your advice to young people out there on a campaign? Like, how would you say what's the best way to execute a campaign with a new product, in your opinion?
Throw it up on social.
Social media.
Well, social's been big for us. But I just keep it organic. Post something and gauge interest, and then put it up online, and then market it. And just if you have time to do a shoot. But I don't like. I like to get a bunch of stuff before I'm doing a proper shoot. I'm not just like going to go and shoot a whole campaign on one item.
That's good feedback, though. That's good feedback. So instead of just, getting it, thinking it's going to go off, do a campaign, then release it, you're saying put it out there, let the public decide what's hot, then shoot the one that is getting all the interest.
Yeah, I mean, I just, I just put something up, and sometimes, and just, like a sample, and
DMs go off.
And then, so people start getting interested in it, they comment on it, and they really want it. So we're able to throw it up online, and sometimes we cut a run of stuff, and we pre-order, we pre-sell it, and make it as we go along, or it just depends, what makes sense, and every item is different. Some items we can do that with, some we don't have the ability to do that with. Can your team do small runs, like 5 t-shirts and all that, or do you never do that? It's a bit hard on that. Some items we can, like, because there's some items that don't require like dyeing or washing, like pre-washing, embroidery, printing, and that kind of stuff. So because some of our places have minimums, like the printing place, embroidery place has minimums. So, but there's other items where we can make a pair of shorts, and we have the fabric there. So we want to make 5 shorts, we can make 5 shorts, or
that's sick.
We want to make like Boban wants
big boy.
Yeah, he wants a jacket or something like that. Then I'm like, okay, we can cut it to his specifications, where it's like, well, he needs a longer sleeve, he needs longer in the body. So we kind of we can cut those things, for him and make it work just off the bat. And it's not easy, but we have the ability to do it.
Yeah. Boban, I love watching his clips. He's quite funny. Yeah.
He's a character, man. He's a great personality, and we've become friends. And
how big's his hand? When you shake his hand, is it a massive hand?
Ginormous. He's a big guy, obviously. 7'3", he's the tallest guy I know. I met second tallest guy I know is 7'1". So
Who's that?
Timofey Mozgov. He's a Russian.
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to play for the Lakers, played for Cavaliers. So
7'3".
won an NBA championship.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
7'3" is a big boy.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing. You have the ability with your team to. I mean, I'd just say a lot of these athletes, they are all massive guys. So does your range? You'd have like how many XL are these boys? So what would Boban be?
Boban's skinny and tall though. Like I mean, it's like skinny for proportionally. So he's probably a 2X with length. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like an NFL guy, maybe not as tall, but he's 4X. You know, like because he's
Wide,
bigger guy, wider.
strong.
Yeah. No? So we offer 4XL, and those do really well for us. So yeah, so 2, 3, and 4. Those are popular sizes for us, and yeah, I don't know. It kind of become a little bit of a niche for us to do that kind of stuff, and yeah, we make custom shoes for Boban as well. So like I'm talking a size 56, which I think equates to a size 19, but it's really massive. It's
a massive foot.
Yeah. So like we have these shelves that you can fit 2 shoe boxes like back to back on, and his one shoe fits on the one shelf basically, It's like 2 shoes to one.
That's a big hoof.
Yeah, like even the factory when we made it, they didn't have a shoe box big enough, so they taped 2 shoe boxes together.
And one shoe.
And I thought it was cool. I was like, it's going to be cool. He's going to get this box of 2 shoe boxes together, and
left and right.
Yeah. So so it was just like this tape box together. It looked like basically you would have a wedding dress as a,
Yeah.
So it was really cool, and I was like, man, these look so awesome. Like it's just, and I try to take a picture of it just to kind of, but the picture doesn't really do it justice to how massive this shoe is. And
you got to send me that photo if you've got it. I'd love to put that on the big Boban. It was 7'3", size 19.
Yeah,
one box for one shoe. That's so cool.
Yeah,
it's funny you mentioned that because I, as I said, I used to play footy with Aaron Sanderlands. I think he was 7 foot.
Oh, okay, wow.
And same problem. Like he had to get custom shoes because footy boots are obviously different to basketball and that. But he had to get custom shoes from America because nothing would fit him.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a bit of a gift and a curse for those guys.
It's a genuine market there, and if you're another business out there that want to look after them, there's a lot of them, especially Americans. There's so many of them.
Yeah, and these guys. Like I said, it is a gift and a curse because the gift is basically it's definitely beneficial for these guys in the sport that they're playing. So but yeah, like the curse part is like being that big. Like I remember Shaq had to have a Ferrari that has like a
custom made.
Yeah, it's always you can't have a roof on it because it doesn't fit in it.
Yeah.
And then like Boban needs the custom shoes, and so it's kind of try to facilitate them and
that's cool, man.
Give them the look that they want and provide a service for them that they can't get elsewhere.
You could almost do their whole closet, really, couldn't you?
True. Yeah. And I like working with him, and he's a fun guy, and if we ever did do a show, he'd definitely be one of the guys I'd have on.
Yeah, he's cool. I see him pre-game. He's always doing stuff with Luca and that. He's funny.
He's a character, man. And you've seen him on the movie Hustle.
Yeah, what a movie that is.
Yeah, so he's on that, 22. That's my son. Yeah, he's 12.
Mate, that movie is very impressive. I saw Trae Young's in there. Trae Young wears your stuff. I saw him just recently.
He was wearing our Adidas hoodie, like
in the movie.
Yeah, in the movie.
How cool's that?
Yeah. So
and you wouldn't have known that till the thing come out.
No, yeah, I didn't. My wife was watching it with me, and then she fell asleep, and I was like, it's like, hey, Trae Young's wearing a hoodie, and then so she was like trying to go find it and like take a picture of it. And,
that's so cool, man. That must be so rewarding when you see guys like that. I mean,
it's cool.
It's the coolest part.
Yeah.
What about NFL? Now I'm a big NFL man. Tell me some names. I want you to name drop here, all right? We're going to pretend we're very confident. We're not in Australia right now, being humble. I want you to just
Ausmerican Aces.
Yeah, Ausmerican Aces right here live with Daniel Patrick. Drop some names of NFL players. I love me wide receivers, obviously. Who are the guys we're going to see in Daniel Patrick this season? And who wears your stuff regularly?
Oh man, you put me on the spot here.
I know,
because there's a lot.
There's heaps, and that's what I'm trying to get to the point of. But people need to listen. They need to know.
Well, sometimes I don't know all the players that are buying it because they're buying online, and I'm like, and I see the sizes, and I'm like, oh, this guy has got to be a player. So I look up the name, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is so. But one of my favorite players is Travis Kelce.
Oh yes,
And
I saw that.
Has
yeah.
great style.
You guys look similar on that side angle. There's a bit of a similarity there.
Yeah, no, we're people said that before, and I take that as a compliment.
Yeah, rooster.
Who wouldn't want to look like that?
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. I just caught up with him in LA. We like randomly bumped into each other at the Players Tribune a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, I hadn't seen him in person for a couple of years before that. So probably reconnect with him for next season and hopefully do some stuff. We'll see what happens on that end, but definitely a big fan of his work. But yeah, I don't know. Put me on the spot here.
Well, just on Travis, what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce is one of the best tight ends in the game, and he is one of the most fashionable players in the whole competition. So
sure.
He's just perfect to be rocking your brand.
Yeah, great person for that.
And he's funny as well. I've seen he's mocked up. He's cool as well.
Yeah, he's a great guy, man. So personable. And
They all are, really. I know that people on the outside look, but when you see him down the car wash, he's in the community. He's a cool dude. They just need to get more cameras on these blokes.
Yeah, exactly. So another guy should be on a show if we ever did one.
Yeah, get him on. Boban and Kelce so far,
yeah,
mate.
but yeah, definitely. Like we're doing something with Brandon Marshall potentially. Obviously,
I am athlete.
Yeah, he not playing anymore, but definitely a legend, an NFL legend. And that group of people. What's the Ocho Cinco?
He's so funny, man. You want to get a character, you got to get him on. I love the I Am Athlete crew. I saw that they kind of split up with the other crew as well. They're going to pivot, but Brandon Marshall have followed because when Eric Decker looked after us at the Jets back in the day, so it was Brandon on one side and obviously Dex on the other. So kind of followed Brandon's career to the end and then seen him do all the stuff he's doing in the media. And he's a personality, mate. He's entertaining.
He's doing great. That I Am Athlete thing is a beast. So their content's amazing, and they're just churning it out. So
you're going to potentially be on their show?
I don't know about that, but if the opportunity arises, I'll jump at that, So yeah, I think we probably make that happen. Yeah.
He's Ocho. I mean, that show is great. Ocho, he's fucking, he's one of the funniest folks I've just watched. He's very entertaining.
And he's worn our stuff for years, They're like, like all the way back to when our stuff was like different in style a little bit, So he's been like a day one guy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now we get some questions from the Aces community, and a big shout out to everyone that does write in, because obviously the guests love it, I love it, and it does shape this little part.
Yeah.
Okay, a question's come in. What is the best advice you've ever received?
Being interested in people instead of being interesting. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you can be interesting, but it's better to be interested. And that kind of resonated with me because you just see successful people are interested in other people. And definitely if I'm trying to help people, like with fashion and style and making them look better, you have to be interested in them and more so than yourself.
Man, that's fantastic. You're spot on. That's awesome advice. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Great question, guys. Now let's flip it. What is the worst advice you've ever received?
I don't usually like unsolicited advice. You know what I mean? If I ask you like for advice, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you just have to take everything with a grain of salt too. You have to be like, and you just have to kind of be true to yourself and just be willing to look at another viewpoint. It's like someone says something to you that you don't agree with, just, take a second and be like, do I not agree with this? Or maybe let's have a look at it. Could it be workable? And, you observe it, and just kind of, just kind of weigh it and see, maybe he's right, or, okay, I don't agree with that, but at least you kind of evaluate whether that information was something to be discarded, or maybe he has a point and you could learn something and improve. Because, you're never going to improve if you're not willing to listen to anyone, like you have a coach just like telling you what to do. Well, you know better, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're young.
We see those athletes, don't we? We see those ones growing up. They're like, no, my way, and they don't progress or grow. You need to really open your ears and eyes and take it all on board.
Yeah. But you can't just like blanketly discard everyone's advice and accept everyone's advice too, because, you have to be able to differentiate, like, okay, look at the source of the person. Is this person successful in what they're doing? And when they give you that advice, that person's worth listening to, and do you still agree with that advice? Yeah, that makes sense. Or maybe it's someone else giving you advice, like someone on social media, and it's not someone that you should be taking advice from. But yeah, you should just be able to weigh up, like, okay, this is good advice and this is bad advice. And that's just, that's essentially
well said.
it. Yeah.
Simply just filter it.
But be willing to look and see if there's something there, Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
If you could go back in time, would you change anything? And if you would, what would it be?
If I could change anything, I don't think I would, because you just have the journey. Obviously, is the journey that you've taken, and you learn so much from that. So I wouldn't necessarily change anything. I think the best thing that I did was move to America for the brand and for myself personally, because I think you're in your environment at home, it's comfortable, and once you get out of your comfort zone, basically you can really find yourself. And I was basically put in the deep end going to America, no family over there. And I think that was the best thing I ever did, because otherwise you stay in the comforts of your environment, the comforts of your family, your mum doing your washing, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of comfortable, but you basically want to go beyond that comfort zone and, be stick yourself out there.
Yeah. How difficult is it entering the luxury sportswear category?
I don't know if it's difficult. Obviously, you have established brands like Nike and stuff like that, and Adidas, but you're not necessarily competing with those brands either, because it's more of a streetwear thing too. But I think any business is not easy. Like, you always think it's going to be easier than what it is. You have to be prepared for it not being as easy and going as smoothly as you want. But don't start out with that kind of, this is going to go, pear-shaped, but you have to be prepared that there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs, and you just need to keep moving forward.
James Jared, my cousin, has written in. He loves it, Jimmy. Sells shoes, resells them. He loves it, this bloke. If you need someone to sell shoes down here, mate, this is your guy. Anyway, how long did it take you to plan the brand, and how long did it take you to launch it once you'd planned the clothing?
I mean, I was kind of planning it when I started going to school, and started deciding I want to do fashion. So in 2006, but I think, sometimes it's the hardest thing is starting something and getting out of your own way to do that. But once you just get going, it doesn't have to take long. You can have a few ideas or even one idea, and those ideas kind of gather steam and kind of snowball into more. So it took a few years for me to kind of start. But once you kind of get going, it's just, it doesn't have to take long. Yeah.
Are you suggesting for these younger guys that start to just get their designs and get all their planning done now and, over time, but then when they execute it, where do they go? What's your advice for them? Do they go source a factory?
Yeah, you're going to need, it depends on the route you want to take, because there's opportunities to manufacture overseas. There's opportunities to manufacture locally, depending on what resources you have available. We're kind of blessed in LA that you can produce most, 99% of our collection in LA. I just like that because I can touch and feel the product. I can drive down, see the sample. We can make changes. And so that's always been what I like doing. Other companies, maybe that's not the easiest way to do it, but I love that hands-on approach. and then you get that, and I think you experience that in the product when you get our product, that it has those details in it. It has that we've been hands-on with this thing. But there's great products coming out from overseas. It just depends on the avenue you want to take. So whether you want to manufacture overseas or you want to do start to finish yourself, you have to find, pattern maker, you have to find your fabric, you have to find your sample maker. And then, it's kind of a loaded question because,
it's obviously, it's great advice though. You've touched on it all.
Yeah, exactly.
Is the term luxury clothing now obsolete with diminishing quality of manufacturing now? From Ollie Hughes.
I don't believe so. I think luxury clothing, in a sense, is it's just high quality things that kind of last too. We live in a fast fashion environment where it's like the social media, where the attention span is kind of smaller, but we make a product that feels good, looks good, and lasts. You can wash and wear it hundreds of times, and it's just a kind of an elevated version of things. And I don't necessarily think it's obsolete in the sense that you have high end brands and you have your fast fashion like H&M and Zara and stuff like that. And if you touch and feel the product from both, you definitely, okay, this is luxury, this is not, and you can tell the difference. And it just depends what you want. Like you can probably get the look you want that for a cheaper price, or you can invest in pieces and have things that are more select, that rather than just have stuff that you're going to throw away after a month or two. But just depends on, obviously, one's budget and how they like to do things. But yeah,
exactly right. Yeah. And quality over quantity all day.
Exactly. Because
you want the pizza shop down the road, or you want toddies. You're going to toddies all day of the week.
Exactly. Because it's you buy one of our hoodies, it's like it's gonna last. Like it might cost more, but it'll outlast 5 other hoodies or something. So it's kind of like
yeah. Well said. Again, thank you to everyone that wrote in. Now, these are our last 3 segments. I've got you a big shout out to Caps, the Homer headwear. I've got you 2 caps.
To the hat wearer, personally.
I know. I wasn't sure if you would, but I got you 2 because I knew you love both cities. But I thought,
well, obviously I'm from LA.
LA, so LA's you. Pop that on, mate. Well, I got these 2 questions for you. Hopefully it fits. Is it a bit tight? You could probably undo it. But the Homer headwear, everyone, we've got a discount code ACES. So head online, www.caps.com.au. That's Caps with a Z, and use the discount code ACES. The Homer headwear. Now, Daniel Patrick is in the building, and we have 3 more questions for the great man. These are our favourite segments at the end. The Caps moment. The Caps moment is the greatest moment in your professional career, probably with your brand. If there would be I know there's a lot of moments, so people do struggle to identify one, but they do squeeze one out. What would be the one moment that's really changed your life for your brand?
For my brand, personally, I don't know. Becoming American citizen was a big moment for me. I know that kind of doesn't really relate to the brand, but that was big. But for me, I don't know, I kind of keep going back to the Adidas collection that we did with James Harden, but also doing the starter collection before that was a big thing because I grew up, wanting a starter jacket, and then being able to make our own starter jacket, and that was kind of a big moment for us.
Yeah, they're great moments. The Caps moments with Daniel Patrick, the James Harden and Adidas collection, and the starter collection. Well said. American citizen as well. That wouldn't be easy to get that, would it? Obviously, with the wife, it would.
Yeah, with the wife, it makes it easier.
Is it a big commitment? Were you ever thinking about coming back to Australia?
I mean, I love Australia and I want to spend more time here, and that's why I'm out here. And I haven't been back for 8 years, so
it's a long time, isn't it?
It's a long time. So I definitely consider myself an Aussie, but obviously I've adopted, being an American as well. But
the hybrid model made it.
But you can't you can't really discount where you come from too, because it's just so much a part of who you are, because I moved over there at 25, so I've had 25 years growing up in Australia, and it's a beautiful country, man, to come from here and just to come back and so clean and the great food, great people. It's just my family's here, so
Well said. It is. It's a beautiful place. Sometimes you need to leave Australia for a while to come back and realise how lucky we really are. Now, this is the Caps clanger. This is the reverse. For some reason, everyone loves the negative, mate, but they all relate to the mistakes. We all make mistakes early days. What's been the biggest Caps clanger for Daniel Patrick?
There's nothing that stands out that wow, that was a flop, But definitely, I don't know, we made production, made errors in production, and you just have to kind of work out a way. There's always, my thing is that there's always a solution. To whatever the problem is, there's always a solution. So I always kind of try and turn those negatives into a positive. So whether something comes out, okay, that didn't come out correct in production, what are we going to do with it? We can't just throw it away, So we'll make a new style out of it or something, So I definitely, turn, make lemonade out of lemons. I don't know.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying, though. Turn negatives into a positive.
Yeah.
I like the way you think. We're all about positivity here at the Ausmerican Aces.
Yeah.
And I love that. That's our first Caps clanger. For someone to say, we don't have clangers, we are always looking for solutions. Yeah. It is a solution-based industry. Life is anyway.
Well, that's what I say to my team. I was like, I don't really care I don't care whose mistake it was. I just want to A, handle it, and B, find out how it happened so that it doesn't happen again. So if everyone's like, no, it wasn't my fault, we're not going to get anywhere, because I'm like, it's just as much my fault as it was their fault, because I wasn't paying attention or I let it, I didn't pass on the details that they needed or something like that. So it's kind of but there's always a solution, and you just have to make sure that doesn't happen again. That's just,
It's a great outlook, and it's a great leader. It'd be great to work with you.
Yeah.
Our last segment, Ricks and Retirement. I got Jenny a pair of sunnies, awesome. So that's for her.
Thank you.
And these are for you, mate. These are the Tribeca Gloss Black Sunrise. So they're named after a little place in New York, as you know.
Awesome.
So throw them on, mate. And this is our last segment.
With the hat on too?
Yeah, you can take the hat off if you want, so the sunnies stand out with that premium little haircut you've got. The Ricks and Retirement. This is where, Daniel Patrick's been purchased for billions of dollars, mate. You've originally from Australia, in Sydney, Marrickville. You're living in LA, but you've obviously travelled around. Where would be the one place Daniel Patrick would like to retire in the Ricks eyewear, and why?
I don't know if I want to retire.
Loves it that much.
Well, I don't know. I feel like you have a good game that you're doing, and you've always got to kind of have a game, and being in retirement kind of takes away the game. But I love living in LA. There's parts of LA that I love. I don't know, Miami.
Miami's beautiful.
Miami could be great. Maybe somewhere in Australia. Yeah. Sydney, I like Sydney.
So there's a few options there, but you don't want to retire. It's another first. We've never had someone not want to retire, and that's a man that loves what he does, which is great.
Yeah.
Well, mate, to be honest, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. I know how busy you are. You literally landed this morning. You've come straight from a meeting to meet us. I wish you nothing but success in the future.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I think I'll be in America in October. I'll keep you posted.
Come by.
We're going to go to Austin, I think. There's a few people going to the Austin city limits, but
I've never been to Austin.
Haven't you?
Yeah, I live so close, and I'm like,
you got to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only been there once, but it's.
No, people speak like, oh, wow, you got you have to go.
Yeah, you got to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I literally thank you so much for your time. I wish you nothing but success, and thanks for sharing all these incredible insights for the Ausmerican Aces, because people just love what you're doing, and it's we've never had someone with a luxury sportswear brand, so it's
thanks for having me. Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to another episode. If you enjoy listening to our podcast, please feel free to hit us up on our social channels at Ausmerican Aces. If you're entertained, inspired, or feel more educated, please share it with your friends and family because we appreciate the support. Righto, catch you on the next one.